All right, welcome to the House Environment and Transportation Committee for Friday, March 13th. We have voting list number 7. The first bill is the Maryland Transit Administration Reform Act and its huge sponsor problem. As amended, House Bill 1081 makes changes to the structure, authority, and responsibilities of the MTA with respect to procurement law, oversight of MTA operations by boards and commissions, tort liability, and eminent domain. In particular, the board establishes the Board of Directors for Baltimore Core Transit Service and the Commuter Services Advisory Board. So as a reminder, this is the bill that creates 2 new boards for MTA, one overseeing the Baltimore Core Service and one advising on the commuter rail and commuter bus service. It also puts MTA in a similar position to the State Highway Administration when it comes to its ability to do eminent domain. It currently has the ability, but it'll now be able to use quick take. Procurement law exceptions before the Board of Public Works. Certain hiring, where we'll have to go to the Maryland Transportation Commission to get permission for its top management positions. And on litigation applying the Maryland Tort Claims Act that applies to every other state agency to the Maryland Transit Administration as well. So it creates parity for the MTA in addition to those boards. I'd move the amendments. Second. Discussion on the amendments. All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to the amendments? Okay, amendments pass. All right, discussion on the bill. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to record in opposition? Delegate Jacobs. Delegate Baker. Delegate Anderson. Delegate Naraki. And Delegate Morgan. You good? Yeah. Does anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor? Delegate Lewis. Delegate Holmes, Delegate Allen, Delegate Odom, Delegate Baylor, Delegate Ziegler, Delegate Foley, Delegate Boyce, and Delegate Stein. Read them back.
I was back.
And Vice Chair Guyton.
Thank you.
Delegate Lewis, Delegate Holmes, Delegate Allen, Delegate Odom, Delegate Baylor, Delegate Ziegler, Delegate Foley, Delegate Boyce, Delegate Stein.
Delegate Grammer, did you want to be recorded in opposition to that bill? Please. Thank you. Yep. Okay, we'll move on to House Bill 248, Chair Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 248 was recommended favorable by the subcommittee. Do I need to read what the bill does? I will do so. It's a departmental bill. It repeals the requirement that the photograph included on an identification card, driver's license, or moped operator's permit issued by the MVA be in color. There were no amendments. Move the bill.
Bill's moved and second. Any discussion on the bill? All in favor of House Bill 248, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to be recorded in opposition? Okay, bill passes. Moving on to House Bill 251, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 251 was recommended favorable by the subcommittee. This departmental bill repeals the requirement that a notarized bill of sale be submitted to the Maryland Vehicle Administration, which applies when a person transfers ownership of certain used vehicles. Move the bill.
Bill's moving second. Any discussion on House Bill 251? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to record in opposition? Okay, bill passes. We'll move on to House Bill 256. Chair Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 256, another departmental bill. It authorizes the State Highway Administration, SHA, to place and use speed monitoring systems on segments of highway identified as safety corridors under federal law. SHA may also authorize a local government to place and use such systems. Move the bill.
Bill's moving second. Discussion on this bill. Okay, all in favor of House Bill 256, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to record in opposition? Delegate Jacobs, Delegate Baker, Delegate Grammer, Delegate Anderson, and Delegate Naraki. Bill passes. Moving on to House Bill 668, Chair Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 668 was returned favorable with amendments by the subcommittee. As amended, House Bill 668, which is a local bill, prohibits in St. Mary's County a person from standing in a roadway, shoulder, median divider, or intersection determined by the county or a municipality in the county in consultation with SHA to be inherently dangerous. The subcommittee amendments are two. The first requires a determination that a state roadway is inherently dangerous and that determination be made in consultation with State Highway. And second, the Second Amendment requires SHA approval for signage on state highways. Move the amendments.
Amendments been moved and seconded. Discussion on the amendments. All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the amendments? Okay, amendments pass.
Thank you. Please move the bill as amended.
Second.
Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on House Bill 668 as amended? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any wish to record in opposition? Okay, bill passes. It's a delegation bill, so I'm not going to do a pile on. And we'll move on to House Bill 1113. Chair Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1113 was recommended favorable by the subcommittee. As amended, this bill prohibits a person from stopping, standing, or parking a vehicle in a bus stop zone and makes the violation subject to enforcement through a bus obstruction monitoring system. There are two amendments. The first defines bus stop zone, and the second strikes the exceptions to the prohibition. Move the amendments.
Amendments moved and seconded. Discussion on the amendments. All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any wish to be opposed to the amendments? Okay, amendments pass.
Thank you. Move the bill as amended.
Second. Okay, bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor of House Bill 1113 as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone wish to be recorded in opposition? Okay, Delegate Baker, Delegate Grammer, Delegate Anderson, and Delegate Naraki. We will move on to House Bill 247. Chair Boyce. I'm sorry. Sorry. Does anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor? Delegate Healy and Delegate Boyce.
That's adding delegates Healy and Boyce.
Everybody good? Okay, now we can move on to House Bill 247. Chair Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee recommendation is favorable with amendments. As amended, HB 247, which is a departmental bill, alters certain standards and requirements for variances from land use requirements under the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bays Critical Area Protection Program. Subcommittee amendment clarifies that the alteration of variances under the bill do not apply to accessory dwelling units. Move the amendment.
I'll second the amendment. All in favor of the amendments, any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed to the amendments? Okay, amendments pass.
Bill's amended. Second.
Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on the bill as amended? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to be recorded in opposition? Delegate Jacobs, Delegate Baker, Delegate Grammer, Delegate Anderson, Delegate Naraki, and Delegate Morgan. Does anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor to this departmental bill? Delegate Baylor.
We're adding Delegate Baylor and Stein.
And with that, we can move on to House Bill 947. Chair Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subcommittee recommendation is favorable with amendments as amended. HB 947, an emergency bill, creates the Blue Catfish GillNet program under the Department of Natural Resources as an element of the invasive blue catfish pilot program. The bill also subjects the GillNet program to the reporting requirements under the pilot program. Subcommittee amendment strikes the authorizations under the blue and blue catfish finfish trot line license. Move the amendment.
Second.
Amendments moved and seconded. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed to the amendments? Amendments pass. Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of House Bill 947 as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Does anyone wish to be recorded in opposition? Okay, bill passes. Anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor? Delegate Holmes, Delegate Healy, Delegate Grammer, Delegate Anderson, Delegate Boyce.
All right, we're adding Holmes, Healy, Grammer, Anderson, Boyce.
And Mr. Chair, if I can say, Delegate Jacobs will be defending the bill on the floor.
Terrific. That's quite the coalition of co-sponsors also, I have to say. We can move on to House Bill 254, Chair Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subcommittee recommendation is favorable. This departmental bill requires the Department of Natural Resources to facilitate community participation in the planning and development of department projects. The bill also establishes a grant fund administered by DNR and certain other DNR efforts focused on climate change resilience. Finally, the bill makes modifications to the provisions governing an existing loan fund for shore erosion control projects, including the removal of certain funding limitations and the authorization of a partial loan forgiveness. Move the bill, Mr. Chair.
Bills are moved and seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor of House Bill 254, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to record in opposition? Delegate Jacobs? Delegate Baker? Delegate Grammer? Delegate Anderson? Delegate Naraki? And Delegate Morgan? Okay, bill passes. We'll move on to House Bill 250. Chair Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee recommendation is favorable with amendments. As amended, this departmental bill authorizes MDE to impose an administrative penalty for a violation of provisions of the Environment Article relating to the appropriation or use of waters, reservoirs, and dams. The bill also expands MDE's authorization to use administrative orders for violations related to waterway construction and dam safety and standardized related administrative notice and hearing procedures. Amendment number 1 is technical. Number 2 requires MDE to take certain steps before imposing administrative penalty on certain categories of dam owners or water infrastructure asset owners, and to consider a violator's degree of cooperation with MDE and any good faith efforts to address a violation when imposing administrative penalties under the bill. The amendment also strikes language that would have authorized MDE to impose administrative penalties for violations relating to wetlands violations. Move the amendments, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Moved and seconded. I have a friendly amendment to your amendment, which is we need an additional change to the short title, which currently reads Environment, Water Resources, and Wetlands Enforcement. It would be revised to read Environment, Appropriation or Use of Water and Dam Safety Enforcement, because as you said, wetlands is no longer in the bill. Will you accept that?
Move the amendment, yes.
All right, thank you. Amendments moved and seconded. Any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed to the amendments? Amendments pass.
Move the bill as amended.
Second. All right, bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on House Bill 250 as amended? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to record in opposition? Delegate Jacobs. Delegate Baker. Delegate Grammer. Delegate Anderson. Delegate Naraki. And Delegate Morgan. Does anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor? Delegate Odom?
Delegate Odom.
Okay. We will move on to House Bill 1071. Chair Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subcommittee recommendation is favorable with amendments. As amended, this bill requires that stormwater regulations adopted by MDE consider best management practices for stormwater management for agritourism. The bill also requires Montgomery County and the Montgomery Soil Conservation District, in consultation with MDE, to review the county's current process for reviewing and improving stormwater management plans for agritourism. Amendment number 1 is technical. Number 2 requires certain stormwater regulations adopted by MDE to account for agritourism and adds language to address a local concern. Move the amendments.
Second.
Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on, the amendments? Any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed to the amendments? Amendments pass.
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on House Bill 1071 as amended? All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to record in opposition? Delegate Baker, Delegate Grammer, Delegate Anderson, and Delegate Naraki. Bill passes. Does anyone wish to be added as a co-sponsor? Delegate Ziegler and Delegate Boyce.
Delegate Ziegler and Delegate Boyce.
Okay. House Bill 1116. Chair Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee recommendation is favorable. No amendments. Move the bill.
Second.
Bills moved and seconded. Any discussion on House Bill 1116? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone wish to record in opposition to this local bill? Okay, bill passes. Just a reminder, the subcommittee chairs, I'm sorry, Delegate Healy.
I was walking in as the vote was being recorded on the first bill, 1081, And I would really like to be recorded in the favorable and be a co-sponsor. I was in the room, but I wasn't at my desk yet.
Okay, we can work on that after we break up here. So just a reminder, the subcommittee chairs to identify your floor leaders like today and let staff know, because it's hard to keep up with all the different bill files they have to make. It's a good thing. We want more floor leaders, but they just need to be prepared for it. And we're going to take about a 10-minute break. So plan to be back in here at 1:25 for bill hearings.
Right here.